Hey guys, David Beebee here, and a warm welcome back to the Solo YouTube channel. I do hope everyone's doing really well out there, practicing hard and so on. But if you're new to the channel, Solo is an app that I designed with my good friend Tom Quayle for developing and building your fretboard visualization and training your ears. Every week on the channel, we produce free lessons showing you how to practice with the app and get the most out of it. So if you want to see more of this, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell icon to be notified of when we post new content. So today's lesson is kind of an extension of last week's video where Tom was showing you how to outline the sound of a chord progression by playing the relevant chord scales starting from each of the chord tones. Now, if you haven't checked out that video, I'd highly recommend you go and watch it because it's really going to help you get the most out of today's lesson. So I'll link that in the description below and I'll put a little card up here you can click to go check that out. Today, we're going to take this idea a stage further by putting all of the chord tones within the scale and aligning them onto the strong downbeats of the bar. And we're going to use Solo to help us do this by selecting and using the passing note scale levels, not within the scale trainer, but within the changes trainer. Now, interestingly, up to this point on the channel, and in fact within the whole of the Solo app, we've never talked about rhythm, time, bars, or beats. And this is on purpose, it's by design. We detach all of that stuff from the Solo method in order to concentrate and focus purely on solving the note finding and visualization problem that so many of us guitar players have. However, having said all that, of course, time contributes an enormous amount to how we hear a chord in the context of a wider progression or song. So one way that you can start to gradually impose a sense of time and rhythm into the solo exercises is by inserting passing notes into our chord scales and aligning the chord tones onto the strong beats of the bar. Now, before we get into the exercises and practice actually doing this, I just want to take a brief moment and show and demonstrate to you what happens when we don't insert the passing notes into the chord scales. And so I'll cut to the other cameras and we'll demonstrate it within Solo. So for example, let's take a G dominant 7, functioning as a 5 chord. Many of you may know that a decent chord scale candidate for this would be the G Mixolydian scale, or diatonic chord scale 5 in the key of C. So what we're going to do to show this problem is initially go into the level of Solo and choose chord scale, not the passing note scale to begin with, and then I'm just going to choose this demo chord progression I've put together here that's going to kick us off with a G7 chord. Now I'm going to hit reverse and I'm going to play this scale as quavers or eighth notes, so there's 8 notes in a bar. Imagining I'm filling a bar of this, descending from the root. So what happens when we do this, if I hit start changes workouts, is I've got the root on the beat, then the flat 7, which is a chord tone, is now off the beat, which isn't great. I've got the 6 that goes onto the beat, then the 5, another chord tone, comes off the beat. Okay, so far we've had the root on, flat 7 off, which is a chord tone, the 6 is on, and then the 5 off, another chord tone that's off the beat. Then the 4, which is kind of an avoid note in many ways you could describe it as, or certainly a handle with care note, is going to come down onto the beat here. Okay, and then the 3rd, which is a really strong chord tone, is off the beat. The 2 is on the beat, and then we preempt the next bar, the downbeat of the next bar, with the root note on the off the 4 and of this current bar. Okay, so we have this. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now this is slightly jarring for us musically because the strong chord tones that are defining the sound of the chord are occurring outside of the strong pulse that we're setting with the downbeats. So at their core, passing note scales, or BEBOP scales if we really have to use that dreaded term, allow us to practice correcting for this odd placement in our linear or scalar playing. So if we come back over to Solo now and select passing note scale, for each chord in the progression that we apply this level to, an appropriate chromatic passing note is inserted into each regular 7-note scale, making them 8-note scales. And as you can read in the pop-up info button here, hopefully you can see that, this means that by starting the scale now on a downbeat, this is going to result in all of the other subsequent chord tones also falling on the beat. So in the case of the dominant 7th chord and the dominant scale, we add in the chromatic passing note of 7 between the root and the flat 7. So if I hit start workout here now, you'll see that we've got in brackets, parentheses there, we have the 7. So that's the 1, 7, then flat 7. So if we do this again, I've got the 1 on the beat. Now this 7, this chromatic passing note that we've added, is on the offbeat. Then the flat 7, which is defining the chord as a chord tone, is now on the beat. The 6 is off the beat. 5 is on the beat, which is a chord tone. 4 is off the beat. 3 is on the beat. 2 is off the beat. And then we finish on the first beat of the downbeat of the next bar, the 1 again. So the root, the flat 7, the 5, the 3, these all now line up onto the downbeats, and we hear a clear representation of the sound of the chord in our linear, albeit currently very dull, line. So let's do another example. Let's take a C major chord functioning as a 1. We can play C major 7 or C major 6, 9. And its chord scale is a C major scale. Surprise, surprise. Now the chord tones, however, are a 1, 3, 5. And importantly here, traditionally it would be the 6, not the 7. And you'll see why in just a moment. So what I'm going to do is go back over to solo, go back to the level and choose the normal regular chord scale level, and then go into the chord changes and select this other example progression I made for the demo of the major chords. I'll hit reverse, and I'm going to play the scale descending again from the root note, and we're running into similar kinds of issues. So start changes work out, and I've got the 1 on the beat, so the C, the 1 on the beat, and the 7 off the beat. And the 6 goes on the beat, which is good. That's a chord tone. We want that. And the 5, which is also a chord tone, comes off the beat. The 4, which is really a kind of an avoid note, is going on the beat. The 3 is coming off the beat, so it's just another strong chord tone off. And the 2 comes on the beat. And then we're back to the root again, preempting the next bar off the beat. So as you can see and hear, there's this misalignment of the strong chord tones and the downbeats that we're imposing. So we'll go back into solo and we'll choose the passing note scale again. And we've already got the correct chord progression selected. So now what's going to happen is for the major chord, solo intelligently knows to put in the correct passing note. So for this major chord in this context, it's going to be the flat 6. So we're going to glue the gap between the 5 and the 6. So if I now hit start changes workout, as you can see in parentheses and brackets there, I've got the flat 6 between the 6 and the 5. So now if I do it, we get the root on the beat, the 7 off the beat, the 6 chord tone on the beat, the flat 6 comes off, the 5, which is a chord tone now, lands on the beat, the 4 is off, the 3 is on the beat, the 2 is off the beat, and the 1 is on the beat again. So once more, you can see and hear by inserting that chromatic passing note between the 5 chord tone and the 6 chord tone, this smooths out and aligns the chord tones into the correct places, and we get this clear representation of the sound of the chord within the linear scale line. Now, if you're thinking this sounds like an awful lot to keep track of, well, you'd be absolutely right. When we add in the fret limitations, the finger limitations, and starting from each of the possible chord tones, we can really highlight some of the unique difficulties of learning to control and be specific about harmony on the guitar. Whilst I don't mean to trivialize the difficulties that other instrumentalists face, us guitar players have got this extra layer of difficulty, because these traditional large patterns and shapes that so many of us learn, I mean, we don't have that instant connection to the notes and intervals like horn players or piano players generally do. And this means that in the beginning stages where we are at now, we have to work so hard at finding the correct note or interval that we can easily lose track of which beat we're on, or which passing note we're supposed to play, or where it goes, and so on and so on. And this is where solo comes in, because practicing with solo reduces this cognitive load by keeping track of where you are. It's listening to you whilst you're focusing on the note finding and visualization element. But by using these passing note scale levels and doing these exercises, we're also subtly structuring the order of the notes, so your ear is getting used to hearing this solid alignment of the harmony for the number of beats or notes that you're playing. Now, we're conceiving and thinking about these elements of rhythm and placement whilst still being in control of the absolute time it takes us to find this stuff. So we can take as long as we need to work it out still. Later on, of course, as we get faster and we grease the mental and physical wheels, we can do this in real time with backing tracks or metronomes. Okay, so in the chord changes list of the app, we have a whole bunch of exercises here. And we're going to be interested today in exercise 30, 31 and 32, which are these bop passing note progressions we've put in. Now, these are going to set up a relatively straightforward series of 1-5-1 cadences going back around the cycle of fifths, so cycle of fourths. And what we're going to do is apply each of the passing note scale levels to each of these progressions. And it's going to give you quite a good introductory workout to this exercise. So I've got the passing note level scale level selected. I'm going to hit reverse, primarily because it's far more common within this style of music to descend through the scales rather than ascending, but you could and should obviously go ascending as well. And then I'm going to hit start changes workout. So it's going to start us off with a C major 6-9, as functioning as a 1, so I've got the chord scale underneath there. You can see there's the flat 6 between the chord tones of the 6 and the 5. So I'm going to play through that. I've got the 1, and I'm thinking about hearing that in relation to downbeats and offbeats. Okay, it's changed to an F7, so this is a dominant chord, of course, so we've got this Mixolydian type chord scale, and you can see the passing note in parentheses there, the regular 7, between those two chord tones of the root and flat 7. So I've now got the 1, 7, then flat 7. Okay, and then so on and so on. It's going to go on to B flat as the 1, and then as you can see underneath there, E flat 7. So I'm going to play through this relatively quickly so you can sort of hear what's going on. I'm going to limit myself between the frets 4 to frets 9, which is going to force me to play different fingerings and pathways. I can't just kind of transpose it up and down the neck. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. Okay, finally, we go in and do the passing note scale, which is going to randomize the starting chord tones. And this, as always with solo, when you start to randomize things, this is where it starts to get really interesting and really challenging, whether you actually know this stuff and whether you can work it out in real time, or whether you're sort of cheekily transposing fingerings. So this is going to just randomize whether it starts from the 1, the 3, the 5, or the 6, or the 7. Okay, so let's try that again. Okay, so it's chosen the 3, it's a C major 6-9, so I'm going to kick it off from the 3 and descend, putting in the appropriate flat 6 passing note. So I've got... Now it's going to the 5, so I'm going to start on the 5 of the F7, so... And the 3rd of the B flat. E flat 7, and the 6th for the A flat major 6-9, and so on and so on. Okay, so we're just about coming towards the end of this particular lesson, but what you can now do is go back into the chord changes list and select bop passing note 2 and bop passing note progression 3. And these are going to set up a minor 5-1 cadence for you. And the difference between 2 and 3 is that they're going to choose different chord scales for the tonic minor. Now this is just the very beginning of the journey of these kind of exercises and this learning to control our chromaticism and find this harmony, specific harmony on the neck. But you could apply this to any of the chord changes within solo, with one caveat in that this is going to work much better where we have singular chords per bar. If you have a quick 2-5 change, then you're going to have to impose an even greater sense of time where you're doubling up your harmonic rhythm. Later down the line, as solo grows and expands and gets more powerful, we'll look at incorporating those ideas of quick 2-5 changes. But for now, you can still apply all of these exercises, all these passing note scale levels to any of the changes within the chord list. Okay, so I hope you've all enjoyed that, found it useful. There's a lot of practice involved in this one. It's quite a deep one, but it's really, really useful for starting to be able to outline harmony and clearly and start thinking about time and it's starting to incorporate some idea of beats, bars and rhythm, etc. So if you've enjoyed the video, hit the like button. If you want to see more of this kind of videos and lessons, then subscribe to the channel and ring the bell to be notified of when we post new videos. Tom will be back next week with another lesson. And if you don't have solo yet and you're watching this far, then it's available in the iOS App Store. It's available for iPhone, iPad and the M1 Max. And yes, the Android version is inching closer and closer towards the finish line. So please bear with us. And yeah, until next time, guys, my name's Beebee and happy practicing. Bye-bye.